Hello chess friends and welcome to Zarov's chess channel and welcome to the super final between Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi of the Chess 24 Legends of Chess tournament. We are now in the game 3. Magnus won the game 1 and he mentioned afterwards in the post-match interview that he wasn't satisfied so much with his game, that Nepo had really his chances even in game 1. So it's a fair thing to say that Nepo had really winning chances. But okay, Magnus gets out sometimes with the crime. He's playing this defensive ideas, this offensive strategy. Sometimes it's really hard to beat Magnus. So let's check out now what happened in the game 3. A similar Najdorf was played in which Magnus now went into Nepo's prepared line. He now finally wanted to see what have you prepared, because in the first game he went into a more positional line than into this tactical line that Nepo has prepared. So we are now in the round 3, so let's start the fight. Okay, e4 played by Nepo. We have c5 by Magnus, knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes d, knight takes d, knight to f6, knight to c3, still common theory of course, and after a6 the Najdorf again. And here Nepo tries again this rook to g1 idea. He had good chances, as I said, in the first game. Here b5, and we have now this move g4, bishop to b7. Here again g5. So here Magnus now finally decides to take this pawn. We have analyzed possible continuations in the first game after this move. Here Nepo takes, knight takes e4, bishop to e4, and I've mentioned that queen to e2 was also a possible line with potential f4, f5 ideas. Here Nepo goes into Stockfish line. This is really this prepared line which Stockfish suggests, a4. Really an aggressive game. You see how the pawns are all over the board. We have already a flank attack here on the queen side, a flank attack here on the king side. So it's really an open game now, and I think that Nepo loves this kind of games. Magnus maybe not so much, because Magnus wants to have a comfortable game. Then he finds tactics out of positional games. Here a4, there are now several choices. You can even play b4 to maybe stop a little bit White's progress on the queen side, but then you risk maybe some a5 ideas. In the game e5 played by Magnus Carlsen. And what to do here? There are now several choices. You could go rook to g4 at counterattacking the bishop. Then I think black would proceed with the potential d5. You could also go queen to e2. Here Nepo goes into this most aggressive line, a takes b5, and he sacrifices the knight. So here I believe that Magnus should have taken simply the knight. Of course, you face several tactical problems. What you should do here from White's perspective is to play the move queen to d4, not to move queen to e2. Queen to e2 is already a mistake, because then queen to e7 will happen, and then black can hang on to this extra piece. I think it's game over. So what White needs to do here is to simply take the pawn on d4 and simply go into a tactical line. Now queen to e7 again, and now rook to g3 would be suggested light by the engine, with ideas after bishop takes c2, then to play rook to e3, and it would be game over here for black. So that's why d5 is a forced move. But now c3, which comes of course with this preventing idea, never allow trades of queens, because when your piece down, then you don't want to of course to trade off queens. A takes b5 is not a possibility. There is this tension on the a file. So black would be probably forced to play something like queen to c5 in this line. I wanted really to analyze this line, because I wanted to see what's all about this piece sacrifice. Here b takes a6, queen takes d4, bishop to b5 is a forced move, because if you take too early with c takes d4, then you risk bishop to b4 check ideas. You cannot escape with your king to f1 anymore. So in this particular line, after queen takes d4, bishop to b5 is a forced line, and now after king to d8, now it's time to take. After bishop to b4, bishop to d2, maybe after trades of bishops. Let's stop a little bit and evaluate this position. Okay, White has two extra pawns. Of course, is a piece down. Still, there is this annoying pawn on a6. If we manage to somehow connect these two pawns on the 6th rank, then it could be game over for black. But the evaluation here is slightly better for black. Still, you of course have to play an accurate game in order to win this. But okay, Magnus went after the move a takes b5 into bishop to e7, a more positional line. Didn't want to risk anything because he wasn't probably sure till which particular moment Jan Nepomniachtchi has prepared this opening. So bishop to e7, we have now rook to g4, counter-attacking the bishop, and now a takes b5. Now the rook is of course protected. In the game, bishop to b5 was played, knight to d7, and we have now bishop to d2. Here, bishop to b7, here, knight to f5. This was Nepo's preparation to get this bishop on a very active, this knight on a very active square. So basically he forces now Magnus to castle kingside. But this knight is really great here. It creates several threats, of course, on g7. Also on this the bishop on e7, because the bishop is the protector of the weak d6 pawn. In the game, Nepo tried rook takes a8, and after bishop to a8, now comes rook to h4. And what to do here? If you try bishop takes g5, then you risk, of course, queen to h5. Bishop to h6 is a forced move. If you try even here h6, I think we can simply take knight takes h6, g takes h6, and here after bishop takes h6, queen to h6, queen to g5, pardon me, here rook to g4 is winning the game. So great tactics that Nepo has prepared here. So it's really hard to defend this. See, you cannot take this loose pawn. Rook to h4, great attacking move. Here g6 played by Magnus, and now a very tricky move, queen to g4. What to do here? Again, now you cannot take, of course, the pawn is protected. If you try g takes f5, then you risk queen to h5, and again it's game over. You have to play something like knight to f6 in order to protect everything, but g takes f6 again wins the game. Bishop takes f6, queen to h7, checkmate. So what to do here? Here after the move queen to g5, knight to c5 was played by Magnus, which was the accurate move, a great defensive move. There is also this risk of knight takes e7, discoverly attacking here the knight on d7, because there is this tension around this knight on d7. So this is also a tactical threat. So far Magnus prevents this idea and plays knight to c5, but now queen to h3. And now we come to the critical moment of the game. Here I want you to pause the video and try to defend here. How to defend? It's really a tough one. It's really incredible. There is only one move to defend this position. It's basically a draw, which Magnus missed. Okay, I'll leave you a couple of seconds. Let's add another Mortal Kombat sound to this chess puzzle, sort of. So test your might and try to find really this defensive idea. It's the only move that helps black to get out of this tactical mess. It's the move bishop takes g5. Now finally it's possible to take, because the queen is not here in front of the rook. So if you try rook takes h7, then bishop takes d2 is a forced move. If you try something like king to d1, then there is this problem. You cannot create an immediate checkmate threat because we have g takes f5. If you try to check, no checks are possible here on h6. That's the worst part for white here. You could try maybe queen to h7, but now black's king can escape. So in this position, you're basically forced to take here this the bishop on d2, but now the queen will come into the game after the move queen to g5, king to c3. And you shouldn't take here. That's the problem. Now it's not time to take the knight, because then you risk rook to h8, king to g7, queen to h7. After king to f6, we can simply take the rook. And although black has some checks, but we can escape. No perpetuals are here possible in this position. So it's a winning endgame here for white, because there is also this threat against this f7 square. So here in this position, let's go back. After the move king to c3, then it's time to bring the knight into the game, knight to e4, and now we have really a forced drawish position. You could make a mistake and go here with the king on b3, then you risk bishop to d5 and it's game over. So that's why you have to stay on dark squares. You have to play something like king to b4, but now you see queen to d2 is a forced drawish sequence because king to a3, queen to e5. You could cover maybe here with the bishop, but now again queen to c5, king to a2, queen to c4, and the problem is now that you cannot play this move bishop to b3 because you risk queen to a6. That's the main tactical threat. After king to b1, knight queen to f1 would be sort of a tactical threat, which is not possible so far, but knight to d2 is now the winning sequence even here for white, because after king to c1, knight takes b3, c takes b3, and now this rook comes into the game. You're going to be checkmated. So that's why in this position, after the move queen to c4, the problem is now that you cannot do anything. You cannot go also queen to king to b1, because then you risk queen to f1 here. That's the main tactical threat. After queen to f1, knight to d2, queen to c1, and now knight takes f1. You see, you lose one of these pieces. So you have to go into a perpetual line here. You should simply go queen to c4, then king to a3, and then queen to c5. That was the drawish line that Magnus Carlsen missed. After the move queen to h3, here queen to h5 was played, and now I want you to pause the video and let's again play this test your might idea. Try to solve now this puzzle, and it's white to move, white to win the game. Okay, I hope you can really solve this puzzle, because again, it's a great tactical threat that Jan Nepomniachtchi recognized. He played simply after the move h5, he played simply rook takes h5, g takes h5, and now queen to h5. In this position, Magnus resigned, because after knight to e6, there are now this g6 ideas. That's the main idea. If you take simply, then we can do some checks. This bishop will come into the game, so it's game over. So great attacking game by Nepo. Again, you saw Magnus missed some tactics. I think that's the only way that you can win again against Magnus Carlsen, to go into such a prepared alpha zero sort of line in which you make something, get maybe Magnus Carlsen into a deep dark forest, sort of like Mikhail Tal used to say, where 2 + 2 is 5, where you don't know what to do, and then maybe to surprise him. Otherwise, you saw that Magnus can get out of tactics. He missed also here a drawish tactic, but okay, for us, it's of course a great one to see, because now the result after 3 rounds is equal. So the second game ended also in a draw. Great attack by Nepo, great miniature. It was in move 23 that Magnus Carlsen resigned. Pardon me, not. It was after the move knight to x6 and pardon me, queen to h5. In this position, this was move 21. Incredible thing. I've never seen Magnus Carlsen losing in 21 moves. The last game that I've analyzed, I believe it was in 25, where he lost in a Dragon Sicilian, but also in the rapid format. Great attacking performance by Jan Nepomniachtchi. Great game, and we hope that he can continue to play like this. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more games from this tournament, here's the link. I've analyzed so far many games. And if you want to see the best chess games of all time, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's also a link. And if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.